The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? Who knew Santa was so jacked? I guess all that fat was just a ruse, but it didn't stop him from getting Santa napped. Amber and Scott discussed this after watching Red One. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
This movie was corny as fuck, and I was all about that.
It was a fun movie.
It really was. Like, it was like they completely blurred all this stuff that's mythological into the point that you could like completely believe that it was reality. Like, just the seriousness that they did a lot of it. It was, I don't know. I actually thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
I'd like to think it's going to become an instant Christmas classic where people rent Home Alone or they rent, what's the thing with the kid in the lamp, the leg lamp?
Oh, Christmas Story.
Yeah, Christmas Story.
Or Die Hard.
Yeah, I have
Die
to
Hard's a
think that
Christmas
this is
movie.
going to become a Christmas classic. At least I'd really like it to become one. So this episode, we are talking about Red One. After Santa Claus, codename Red One, is kidnapped, the North Pole's head of security must team up with the world's most infamous bounty hunter in a globe-trotting, action-packed mission to save Christmas. It was enjoyable. It was 2 hours and 3 minutes, which normally when something breaches the 2 hour mark, I get a little concerned that I'm going to get bored or it's going to drag on, but didn't wonder about the time once. It was engaging the entire time, and the storyline was just fun.
It was justifiably slow until Red got captured, but like it was slow in that it was the correct pace for what it was, and the pace just picked up afterwards, and again, still correct for what it was. Like, you can't be going 90 miles an hour from the go.
So the premise of this film is basically we have a fit, muscular Santa.
Seriously.
And he seems like he dips into the real world at some point in the holiday season to actually sit at a mall and engage with children for real, because that just lights him up, and then goes back and does all the final preparations for Christmas night. And we, at the same time, are getting this backstory about a character, and a different character named Jack, who was a mischievous kid, and turns out he's on Santa's level 4 naughty list because he's just made a lot of bad decisions in life.
Yeah, and like, they wasted very little time in this movie in establishing how bad of decisions he's willing to make.
And then we have our other main character, who is Cal, who is Santa Claus's bodyguard. And if anyone brings Santa cookies at the mall, he sniffs them out, makes sure they're okay. And Cal himself, obviously based on several references he makes during the film, is several hundred years old, as is Santa. So we have definitely a mythical element going on in the North Pole.
I believe he stated he had been with Santa for 542 years.
Yeah, long time. And Cal, the bodyguard, turned in his resignation. So this Christmas is going to be his last Christmas. And the day after Christmas, he's retired.
Yeah, because...
So that's our premise here for all of our folks. And Santa is kidnapped right before Christmas.
Yeah, bummer. It's a little interesting on the what would you do's on this one. I feel like that one's going to run a little bit light because I'm not sure there were a lot of different things to do other than what the characters did. I mean, you've got the redemption story. I mean, there were a lot of normal movie tropes in this movie, but again, that was just fine. Like, this movie was fantastic for what it was. Like, I don't know, if you're Cal and you are losing the Christmas spirit and your job is to basically be Santa's right-hand man, well, I don't think you want Santa's right-hand man losing the Christmas spirit. So you kind of got to be like, either I'm quitting or I know I need like a 50-year sabbatical.
And the reason he's quitting is because he loves the kids. The kids are great, but he's disillusioned by the adults.
Man, we all.
Yeah, no kidding. So while they're at the mall, he sees the adults, pushing over the toys and yelling at each other, and a guy stealing a scented candle, and just people being stressful, awful people like so many folks are during the holiday season. They want to get that last toy train or that last electronic, and heaven help anyone who's standing in their way.
Yeah, and I wish that part was fictionalized.
Yeah.
It might have been slightly exaggerated, but only slightly.
Right. And so the overarching premise of the film is once Santa is kidnapped, they're trying to track him down so they can have Christmas. And Santa is kidnapped by an evil ogre witch. And she, for the moment, looks pretty, but normally in her regular state, she's 18 yards or 18 feet.
Though I will say, it felt
High.
more like 18 yards.
Yeah, very, very tall, very,
she
very
was-
ugly. And okay, so this is where I'm conflicted about this film. She, along with Santa's brother, who's Krampus, wants to punish the people on the naughty list.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. You
Yeah.
have the same conflicts I do.
Yeah, so I
Who-
love this film, but I'm actually rooting for the witch ogre who wants to punish the bad people, the people who are on the naughty list, the people who are just a drag on society and are just not nice. And this is the good evil struggle throughout the film, and I'm like, go ogre witch. Is there something wrong with me?
No, I mean, so she seemed to want to imprison the ones who had jaywalked and littered. I don't know. I mean, I know.
I'd like to imprison anyone who litters.
I figured. I mean, I don't know about imprisoning the L1s, and I'm not exactly sure what L2 is, but you know what? L3s and L4s and anything above that, hey, go nuts. But the problem was like, I mean, I guess for evil plan to work, they needed people to open presents on Christmas morning. And so I guess she would have had to have done it at Christmas. She couldn't possibly get a list of people and their birthdays. And then I suppose everyone would hear about it. And
Yeah, her mechanism to punish the people was she had these magic snow globes. So when
can't remember
her
the-
plan was to steal Santa's sleigh, deliver all of the presents, but the presents were these magical snow globes that when someone opens up and looks at them, they basically get
imprisoned inside them.
imprisoned inside. Yeah. And then she's just going to have this collection of snow globes with all the naughty people captured inside, which again, I got to say, go ogre witch. Especially now in today's society and how conflicted everything is, especially here in America. I'm all for harnessing the nice and banishing the folks who are just not making society a better place.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like there needs to be more delineation amongst the naughty listers. Like
Sure. If you didn't hold a door open for someone versus you're just mean to everybody.
and maybe I'm just saying that because I'm pretty sure I would be at least an L1, if not an L2 myself.
Oh yeah, I think you'd be an L2 for sure.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be.
But the character of Jack was an L4, and he basically was he was a con artist. He was just always kind of making the wrong decisions. Now, at his core, he wasn't a bad person, like he murdered people or whatever. He was ethically challenged.
Yeah, I actually kind of would be very interested to know what the full scale is on this. Is this like a Circles of Hell type deal? It goes to 9 or 10, or is
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Are we topping out at 4, or
Yeah,
is there 10
I mean,
points here?
I've got to think he didn't murder anyone, so there's got to be a 5.
So what would you do if you were Jack, just a guy, and his role in all of this was he unknowingly provided the data that allowed Santa to be kidnapped because he's a cybersecurity kind of, hacker person. And once the good folks, Team Red One, finds him, they bring him along for the journey to try to help find Santa and right this wrong. So what would you do if you were in Jack's shoes, Mr. Level 4?
You mean after you've already unknowingly sold out Santa and
didn't believe in Santa as a kid?
well,
Actively told your cousins there wasn't a Santa.
I mean, again, under the IRL aspect of this, spoiler alert, there isn't. But
I don't know. I mean, the movie said there was, so. And they had a lot of good evidence.
But acting within that world where apparently he actually does exist, I mean, I don't know. Like, The Rock and the Coca-Cola bear both take a turn smacking me around would be a pretty good incentive for me to be like, yep, I'm in. Not to mention they said they were going to pay double whatever the last one was. And it seemed like that was a lot of money. So double that is double a lot of money.
One of the lieutenants that helped Cal, the bodyguard, was indeed probably a 7-foot polar bear. So
Yeah. Yeah, I just couldn't look at that bear without thinking like the Coca-Cola bear, which his name was Garcia, and hands down the whitest Garcia I've ever seen.
a polar bear indeed. So if I was in any of the characters' shoes here, let me go a little deep here and say that I was the witch ogre character. And I had this list, and this list was initially cultivated by Santa's brother, Krampus, and then ultimately done together with Krampus and the witch ogre, and then taken over by her. I would like to think that I could delineate between levels, like you were talking about, is who is just unaware and maybe thoughtless versus who is just beyond that point of redemption.
Like, who is evil level?
Well, and I don't even think you have to be evil to be a bad person. Like, for instance, someone who's really self-centered, I don't think they have to be evil, but to be indifferent to the conditions of others, to the suffering of others, to the presence of others. It's like this was something my mom used to complain about a lot. And I understand. As a senior citizen, you'd like to think that people, society as a whole, might realize your slight degree of vulnerability or in need of assistance or whatnot. And she would always complain when a young, perfectly capable man, 20, 30, 40, 50-year-old man would cut in front of her to go in a door someplace and not hold the door open, cut her off, or anytime she was shopping that someone would just do something that would impact her space and her stability. And as senior citizens, sometimes, you have balance issues and whatnot. And she was always like, what is wrong with these people that at a minimum, they're not being aware of what's around them. But to be a better society, any man or any person should hold the door or say after you, because these are just common courtesies in society. And I have a real issue with all of those common courtesies not being common anymore, because they're just little niceties that make society a better place.
I generally find when I'm holding the door, I'll err on the other side of maybe holding it too long. Like I could go, I'll let a couple people through, and I probably could close the door at that point. But I see there's somebody who's close enough that I say I'm just going to keep holding it. And I've occasionally gotten trapped. Though there is one door that, and maybe this is why I'm an L1 or an L2er, there's one door I actively try to not hold when possible, as long as there's no eye contact involved. And that's an elevator door.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you just get in there, I see people come, I'm like, up, go, close it quick. I mean, unless somebody says... Now,
I see what you're saying. You try and close it so people can't get on and you don't have stops to make.
Yeah, and I don't...
Yeah, that's an L4 behavior for sure.
I mean, it depends. Now, if somebody says, could you hold it, or they make any verbal, I will. I will put my arm out and I'll stop it, but...
Well, it's one thing to not hold the elevator for someone, but to actively and consistently be pushing it to close, that's kind of a jerk move.
I mean, I don't push it to close because it doesn't close any faster because of that. But
didn't you just say you push it?
Well, in my mind, I mean, I'll hit the close button once. It's not going to.
Are you hitting the button to your floor?
Well, yeah.
Repeatedly?
No, not repeatedly. That doesn't do you any good. It's not like if you hit it faster, it closes faster.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean, I suppose it also depends. I mean, it depends on the situation, too. Am I in a hurry? Do I think someone getting on the elevator might be sick?
I mean, there's a lot of variables. And for myself, I really try to default to being kind to those around me. And very frequently, it's not returned. When I'm walking, taking a walk, anywhere, when I'm out in the world, anywhere, I will smile at people or I'll say hi a good percentage of the time. The majority of those people don't do anything back. They don't smile, they don't grunt, they don't say hi, they just look right through me. But I still do it.
I mean, again, this is another one of those situational. Like, if I'm, like, going to the mall to watch a movie or something, and you're passing by a bajillion people.
Sure, it's just a bunch of people in a crowd. But if you're walking down the street and there's someone walking towards you, there's nobody else around. Yeah, I smile and say hi.
Yeah, I mean, I might not say hi. I might smile and nod.
Yeah.
Like, I acknowledge them.
Yeah, and of course, in a crowd, that's a much different dynamic. But I was reading something the other day, and someone thought this was a great idea, and it is, and I'll share it too, because we're basically fundamentally here talking about nice lists and naughty lists and what lands you on either. And it was saying that if your market has any sort of BOGO promotion, or buy two, get one. Buy a bag of potatoes, get a bag of potatoes, or buy a loaf of bread, get a loaf of bread.
Which is a complete scam, by the way. But
that even if you don't need the second one or want the second one, you should always get it to give it away. And maybe that's just giving it away to the person behind you. Be like, hey, this came, I got a free bag of potatoes. Could you use it? And, maybe it's a family and they could use your bag of potatoes, or maybe you belong to a Buy Nothing group, or maybe your neighbor could use it. But just little things to be nice, because I got to tell you, when people are kind, at least for myself, it goes such a long way. And our level of disconnectedness as citizens and community members, I think, has plummeted over the last several decades. And when someone is just does the right thing, does the nice thing, does the kind thing, it's more rare than it should be. And that goes a long way. And I would like to see those kinds of things really rewarded, and those people to be highly placed on the nice list. And for folks who are just so self-absorbed, it might go back to your point here. What I started talking about is evil. I don't think it has to be evil. I think just people who are unaware that they're not the only people around.
I don't know. I definitely feel like society is not moving in that direction. It is sharply moving in the opposite direction.
And I attribute a lot of that to social media. Hey, look at me. This is what's going on with me. This is where I am. This is my food. This is my vacation. This is my family. This is my house. Here's my new blender. We are so obsessed with the wonder of us that I think that is slowly but surely chipped away and eroded our sense of that we are a small little cog in the greater microcosm of things, that we are one species on this planet, and there are plenty of other species, and it's not that they matter less, that there's less of them. It's just they're not as self-centered and power hungry as the human race is.
I mean, sometimes you need to be put in your place, like right at the beginning of the movie when that one social media guy with 3,000 followers wanted to come up and cut in line for Santa. He had to get put in his place. Like, 3,000 is nothing, dude. Not that he would have. I mean, he could have said 300 million, and Cal was still going to cut him off and say, "Go stand in line." But
yeah, and it wasn't just that he wanted to cut in line. It was that he wanted Santa to wear this promotional shirt for his new company that was the Stew Crew or something. And hey, just have Santa put this shirt on and say this, and it, like, no, I think that actually is a really good example of the self-centeredness with social media that I'm talking about. It's not all about you. It's not about your goals. It's not about your world. Hey, how about using social media to broaden your circle of compassion or kindness or awareness and be less inward focused? Because that inward focus, I feel, is a real detriment to society. And I know folks would disagree, but I also know a lot of those folks are probably addicted to their phones.
yeah, I can't even disagree with you on this one. I think our society would be a lot better if you would think a lot more, at least about we and not as much about me.
And community focus. I mean, I know when I was a kid, my mom used to say, go outside. Go play. And when you went outside to play and you met new kids in your neighborhood and you made friends and whatnot, and you were actually learning skills to foster relationships and realize those little nuances and dynamics of relationships, of how you get along with people. And now when you're just interacting on social media with you being an avatar spouting off or being cruel to someone else who is just an avatar, it doesn't feel like that's the bad thing to do. That's what everybody does. And I think that's helped us devolve into some of the shortcomings we have in our society today.
Yeah.
And I don't think that makes you evil. I think that kind of falls into the I'm not aware. I don't really see anything beyond my own very selfish motives. And maybe naughty might seem a little extreme, but I'd put them on my naughty list if I was in charge.
Evil, like, there is a point where it does become evil. Like, sorry, guys, we generally avoid politics, but Donald Trump. Do you think Donald Trump has hit that point that, because clearly he is who you describe. He's very self-centered. He's very all about him and not really caring about others. Does he push that line over into evil?
I have no interest in discussing politics here, but I will say that, you know, we're not in charge of anybody else, but we're always in charge of ourselves. And anything that I'm alluding to here really doesn't have anything to do with anybody else, because everyone's allowed to be themselves. And it's really not for any of us to tell anybody else how to behave or what to believe or what to value, because it's not a mirror of what we believe and value.
The second two I agree with. The first one I don't. Society does tell you how to behave.
Oh, they do, but should they?
Well, and again, I mean, it kind of goes back to actually the last episode that we did where I talked about the nesting boxes, where, yeah, it's okay to break outside of a few of the boxes and be yourself, but there are still those outer one or two boxes that conform society, like thou shalt not murder, and I mean things like that. Like there are definitely some things.
Oh, and believe me, I hear what you're saying. I'm not saying be yourself to the detriment of others, because obviously I'm telling, you know, my opinion here to be more community focused. And in that respect, yeah, there's compromise involved. Yeah, there's sensitivity involved. But looking at that larger, like if you believe in composting, okay, this is a bad example, but off the top of my head, composting. You can be the best composter. You can compost at home. And if you're at someone's party and they're throwing all this stuff away and it's, oh gosh, it's just rubbing you the wrong way because they're not societally aware of the benefits of composting, you'd be like, oh, hey, you know, I noticed you have a lot of garbage. Have you ever tried composting? I have this great composting bin at home and I have these worms, and you can tell them about composting. But at the end of the day, you can't force them to compost.
Yeah. I mean, certainly make people aware of it.
And you do that by talking about your own experience, not telling anyone what they're doing wrong. And I think that's what a lot of people are upset about in today's society, is they're being told what they're being done is wrong, other than, you know, everyone just communicating with a little bit more kindness and less judgment, because I think judgment gets people to shut down.
But this does actually open, and I know we're kind of pressed for time here, but it does open. You talked about what people believe and they value and how they behave, etc. And it's interesting because I feel like what you value and what you believe, like you kind of, those transition, and what you believe transitions into how you behave. Like if I can use the most extreme example possible, Adolf Hitler, obviously not a fan of the Jews. And if his values and his beliefs said the Jews are evil and bad, I mean, I guess that's fine up until the point when he starts actually behaving. And behavior, not just necessarily, like obviously everything with that, but when you even start talking about it, when you start spreading hateful rhetoric.
Hate and power. I mean,
Yes.
It's really the combination of hate and power. It's one thing to be a hateful person. It's another thing to be a hateful person with power. And that's a whole other thing. I think that way exceeds the naughty list, at least pertaining to what we're talking about.
I mean, obviously. I mean, the truth is in the end, you're going to believe what you believe. And
that can shift.
It can. Absolutely. I've had my beliefs on many things shifted, but the truth of the matter is you could act like you believe something outwardly, but if you don't, you don't. And the one person that's hardest to lie to is yourself. So it's okay to say, these are the beliefs I have, but it's acting on them in any way, shape, or form. That's where you do have a choice of be like, okay, I believe this, but I'm going to shut up. I'm not going to do anything. And I think that's where you start to maybe draw that line.
Good judgment. I mean, good judgment kind of goes back to awareness, which is one of the initial concepts we were talking about.
Yep. So I guess my final thoughts on this movie is actually just go see it. If you haven't seen it already, like this is, I actually agree with your initial assessment. This has everything necessary to be a true instant Christmas classic.
I agree. And there's still time to do the right thing, be kind, be generous, be thoughtful, be merry, be good, and get on that nice list.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.